It's the Takeover Show, DJ Reflex, and joined by an old friend of mine who I get to see every time he drops some new music, and I'm really excited about the current project. It's out now, Uptown Special, Mark Ronson. What's up, Mark?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
It's great to see you, man, and first of all, big congratulations for this album, man. I know it's something, when you listen to it, you could tell you really put a lot of your heart into the making of this project.
It's true, I mean, I think, like, especially now, like, people kind of care less about albums than maybe ever, and it's there's streaming and singles and whatever it is, but to me the album is still the great art form that we have in music, and I wanted to make it one that everyone would want to enjoy.
Yeah, and I think in addition to the music that's on it and the making of the music, I appreciate that you get that that it takes Bruno, or someone of that stature right now, arguably the biggest pop star in the world, to put eyes on the production that you're doing, right? Like, because you could have someone else, and it becomes almost like a cover of some sense of like an old funk record or something. It's not important, but with Bruno on it, it helps deliver it to a mass audience, and then to see it hit number one on the charts, it's got to feel good to know that you're bringing that type of music to the charts.
It is. It's amazing. I never really think too much about like who's the right person or what for the tracks. When we start off, it's just like get in the studio. So really, Uptown Funk came out of just being at Bruno's studio with Jeff, and Bruno's on drums, I was on bass, Jeff's on keys, and it's just written as this kind of jam. But obviously having him on this song is like, it's something like, this is kind of like an old school jam, like in a very like overall way, but the fact that like 3-year-old kids or whoever it is like go crazy for it, it's like a testament to also, like, I think Bruno just has that energy in his performance and the hooks and stuff that just make it feel like very now.
Yeah, and not to be redundant, but what you just said is amazing. When you have a record that kind of crosses ages and genres and races and such, which I think the single does. I mean, when I have my dad calling me, telling him to send him the MP3 of the single,
really?
That's
cool.
A sign that, okay, this is touching like mainstream, in addition to all the cool kids love it too.
Yeah,
that's a really good sign. Let's talk about someone who I had a pleasure of watching work with Kanye and such, Mr. Jeff Bhasker, who you used a lot on this album.
Yeah.
How did that relationship kind of start for you guys? When was the first time you guys actually had a chance to work together?
We worked together for the first time on Bruno's album. We co-produced Locked Out of Heaven and Gorilla and Moonshine. Okay. And then when I started to work on this album, because this is my 4th album, I've always produced them all myself, so I just thought, like, man, I think Kanye said it. I think it was at his last album release. There was like a bunch of people on stage. He's like, if you see someone on this stage next to me, you better believe they're better at something than I am.
Sure. Jeff
is like, he's a monster musician. I really dug his stuff from when I first heard the Alicia Keys Try Sleeping with a Broken Heart, sure, Beyonce Party, and then 808s and Heartbreaks. So we got in and we started writing songs right here in Venice, and then it just took this turn of events. We ended up driving through the South looking for a singer, and stopping in Memphis, which we decided was the place where we needed to record the whole album. So Jeff co-produced and co-wrote and co-piloted basically this entire record with me.
The record that I Can't Lose, that record particularly came out of that journey through the South, right?
Well, actually, it's the song that really triggered the whole idea to take a journey through the South. So Jeff had come up with that song, and we were up late one night at Jeff's house, and we were like a little lit, and he's like, man, we gotta screw having any of these other singers around, man. We're gonna go drive through the South. And Jeff's an incredible piano player. He was the only white musician in like his great gospel group called the Little Willie Band, so he had some experience driving around the South and doing churches and stuff. So he said, we're gonna get in a car, we're gonna drive, we're gonna get to the heart of like all this great American music, soul, gospel, funk, jazz that we love, and find a girl. So we drove around and we heard the most incredible singers. We didn't hear one bad singer, but of course we had a specific voice.
Yeah.
And the girl, Kiani Starr, the girl that we met and heard sing in Jackson, Mississippi, she became the one. So
and to be more specific, how did you find her? Like, what was the situation that actually led you to finding this talent?
Well, actually, so somebody that Neil Jacobson,
sure,
helped us kind of put this trip together. So there was a guy named Adam who used to be the gospel rep for Interscope down in the South. So he already had some good connections with the Mississippi Mass Choir and stuff. And obviously we didn't have like 2 months of Sundays just to go only on, on church day. So we planned it out. So sometimes we'd be going to churches during rehearsal. Sometimes we'd just be like in a side room at like the sports bar, like listening to someone sing while like with the door closed, while Lil Wayne 808s are like blasting under the thing and they're trying to sing the a cappella like version over it. And it was just somehow we managed to, in 10 days, just cram all these things and see all these places and hear all this incredible talent.
Yeah, and now one of the last times we had a chance for your last project, one band that you told me that you were really enjoying at the time was Tame Impala. You ended up doing multiple records with Kevin Parker on this album. Again, in the process of making this album, did you already know you wanted him on an album? You just didn't know what the right record, and so when you made the record, it was like, okay, this is the one for Kevin, or was it the music done, and then you said, this would be an awesome record for Kevin to be on? I
think it's always a little bit of both. So obviously being friends with someone is great, and loving the Tame Impala records, I had in the back of my head, sure, I'd like to get him on, but also you can never sort of force the record. It has to be the right thing. So I wrote this song, Jeff and I wrote the song Summer Breaking, and I kept hearing Kevin's voice on it, and I asked him if he wanted to come to Memphis while we were recording and help us finish the song. And then while he was there, he had this riff for that song Daffodils. It just became, we recorded that and Leaving Los Feliz, and he's an incredible drummer. Not only is he a great singer, he's a drummer, guitar player, all that stuff.
Yeah, and Daffodils, I know it sounds so current of me to say, I tweeted you, but Daffodils is such a cool groove, and his vocals are almost like this like haunting little, like sits above the track really nicely. It's such a perfect fit. I guess I'm praising that record, and particularly I love that tune. What was the first record that made this album that you finished that were like, this is the where the album is headed? Well,
what happened was about a year before I even got with Jeff, I was doing a lot of DJing a lot of festivals and in Europe, and because I come from DJing in hip hop clubs in New York, I always get thrown in the room with the guys like A-Track, Hudmo, Bauer, Rusty, which is great because I love their production, but obviously like these guys have these massive drums of doom, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know if should I make a hip hop record? Obviously hip hop New York, especially having this nice resurgence with Joey Badass and Ronson, and I was really in a bit of a career crisis, not knowing what kind of record that I wanted to make, and it wasn't until I got with Jeff and came out here, and I think the first piece of music I wrote that's actually on the record was Summer Breaking, and I kind of came up with the bare bones of that, and that was the first thing I was like, okay, this is different. This is like what I should be doing.
Sure, and so. Which leads me to the next record, which I'm trying to, it's like kind of twisted on the album back here. Andrew Wyatt, his feature as well. Last time I saw you, we didn't get to speak, but I went to a show. You were on tour with Mike Snow.
Yeah.
And so, what about Andrew for that particular record? What made that kind of connect for you?
Well, Andrew, not outside of his success with Mike Snow and stuff, has one of the most soulful, wonderful voices I've ever heard. On the song Heavy and Rolling, it's like he wrote it. It's the idea that we might find like a male singer when we were driving through the South, and just no one was ever going to top Andrew's demo vocal. And he sung at my wedding, actually. He sung like during the service, he sung As by Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
Not all 7 minutes, but like a verse. And he's, whenever that song comes on, and like Bruno and Phil from the Smeezingtons, whenever that comes on, Bruno always just at the end just goes, Andrew Wyatt, best white singer ever. he has this incredible like Stevie-ish thing, it's so genuine, and what else I like about him is like he's one of my closest friends. I remember both when before we had any success, just kind of struggling. He was always like got that song that almost got on the Janet Jackson album, just hustling songwriter, and so now that he's done well, it's like I like working with people that are like family to me.
Sure. And speaking of a voice like Stevie Wonder, legendary Stevie Wonder's featured on this album. How does it feel to have such a inspiration to all of us in music to be, a part of this project? It's having Stevie on it is just the most incredible thing. I mean, it's almost like I still can't really believe it's happened. I had this song and I wrote the melody, and even though there was a singer, I kept hearing it as Stevie's harmonica tone. No matter what, anytime I hear this melody, I just wanted to hear it. So I just thought,
well, what the hell, like all I can do is just send his manager a note with the track. So like I didn't hear anything, and then 4 months later I just kind of hear back like, yeah, Stevie digs it, and he's on tour, but if you book him a studio in Chicago Thursday, I'll do my best to get him to go in. So obviously like Thursday rolled by like the slowest day of all time, and 11 o'clock I got this I got this email that was just said Stevie harmonica session, and then it was just, I couldn't even listen to it for half an hour. It was so like just too much to even take in.
Sure.
And it's great, and it's like, you know, it's fantastic, and he plays beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how that feels. I recently had a chance to go in with Pharrell and Lionel Richie, and for Lionel, same thing for me with Lionel. Was like, you know, obviously both legendary in their own rights, but like with Lionel, like it's just something about it that, yeah, as music lovers as you are and as I am, it's just something special, right? It's like it's something, you become a fan. You're still a fan so much. You know?
He's my favorite songwriter, you know, singer, musician, harmonica player. Definitely even one of my favorite producers, because he's so good at everything else, you forget he produced those records. They're incredible. So yeah, it's insane to have him on the record.
Yeah, and again, Mr. Jeff Bhasker contributed not just to the production this time, but he actually sang. He has a record featured on it. Was that a Bhasker demo that you decided just to keep, or was it meant for, like, when he did it, it was like, you're staying on it, like, we're keeping you on it?
I think it probably started off like probably just like writing the song, because Jeff has such a great voice. Anytime we're writing the song, he would always lay the demos.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, I love his voice. I love listening to, every now and then, like when we get drunk, like I'll make him play me all the demos of like Party by Beyonce and Try Sleeping with a Broken Heart with his vocals on, and they're just so good. And I knew I kind of wanted him on it, and it was nice, because for all his success and Grammys and, you know, millions of records sold, we finished the vocal on that, and he kind of turned to me and was like, man, that's the first time anyone's ever like left me on the record. He was like, you know, all this hooks and Run This Town, he's never on the final product. He was like, you know, he's like, thank you, and he sounds great on it.
It's a great, that's In Case of Fire, right? Exactly.
It's funny. It's like a lot of people's like kind of, I speak to sort of sleeper favorite on the record, and
it's really cool. Dude, congratulations again. I'm really excited for you. What's the touring looking like off of this? What's the next step on to promote this album? What's the band looking like?
I'm not sure. You know, I wouldn't want to go out and do the touring without having Kevin or Bruno, so I have to really think about it. I'm not quite sure yet, but the ideal would be to do like 2 or 3 great shows, like spread out, that we could have everybody. But yeah, long answer to your question, I have no idea.
I mean, that'd be amazing to actually perform the album from the whole, you know, the track listing with the actual people would be really cool. I imagine it's hard just to finish a project like this with everybody moving so much.
Yeah,
that would be quite a feat to get everybody on stage together for at least one show, you know.
I know that's like the pipe dream, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Mark Ronson, thank you for joining me, man. Uptown Special is available right now. Make sure you pick it up, and again, congratulations on making a piece of art that seems to be consumed by the mainstream quite well. And the integrity of it still so high. So thanks for making this album, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Special thanks to Robert Wayne Footwear and Doc Martin.